Hey everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff, and I got my Galaxy S6 Edge in the mail. This is a T-Mobile variant. I was able to get this a little bit early, so I had a chance to play with the Galaxy S6 Edge and the Galaxy S6 at Mobile World Congress, and I did a little bit of impressions in videos that I had made while I was there, but now that I have a retail model and I've had a chance to actually play with it in the real world, I want to give you a bit of my first impressions. So let's go ahead and take a look at it so far. You know, sometimes I have to admit that when I get a new phone, I can be a little bit cranky when using the new phone. There's just some new things to learn, things to deal with, things to adapt to. I don't like change too much sometimes. So yesterday, this phone and I were not friends, but it's becoming more friendly to me now. I am warming up to it. So what made this device not so friendly with me yesterday? Well, at MWC, I had the same opinion, which was that it felt kind of edgy in hand. I liked how the Galaxy S6, just the regular version, felt better. I didn't like how this part here hit my hand. Although admittedly, when carrying it around for a day, taking it in and out of my pocket, just getting to know each other, I am starting to like that feel more. An interesting effect that we have here is that this device feels super thin. I think that is in part due to this band being so thin here, so the way that it just hits your palm, it feels like you're holding a phone that's just wafer thin, and it's very light at the same time. I do feel often like I'm going to drop this, and that makes me nervous because it is made out of all glass. You can see the front and the back. This looks blue on camera. I hope it doesn't look blue once I go and edit this. This is the black version of the phone, by the way, 32GB model. So after a while, you do get used to the way that this feels. It gets more friendly, and now I like it, honestly. Another reason that this phone and I were not friends yesterday is that mine came scratched out of the box on the display. I really don't know why this is scratched, although going on XDA-Developers.com, I can see that a couple of people are reporting the same type of thing where we see hairline scratches all over the phone under certain lighting. I don't know how widespread this is. I will be asking for an exchange unit. This is a T-Mobile unit. Let's see if I can show you that scratch. It's probably not very easy to do on camera. Get all the little hairs and things out of the way. So here we have the scratch that's right there. And a lot of people might say, oh, it's just such a small scratch. There's no reason to be upset about that. But the thing with Gorilla Glass is that it's tempered, and there is a layer of compressive stress to where if you end up scratching the glass deep enough, you're already compromising the strength of the Gorilla Glass. So that's really not good to have it deeply scratched like that at any point. So let me know if you got a Galaxy S6 Edge or even an S6 and you're seeing that there are scratches or hairline scratches. Mine is quite deep of a scratch here. Then I've got those hairline scratches. I'm not so worried about the hairline ones. It's more the deeper scratch. I would be curious to hear about that feedback. I know that a question that a lot of people are going to be asking right now, if you are wanting to go for a new Galaxy device, is should you go for the Edge or should you go for the regular S6? Well, just by appearance, I have to say that if I went into a store between the both of them, I would pick this one hands down. It looks really nice and classy. It's something new, something different. The display does pop a lot more because it is given a 3D effect by those wrapped edges. It is $100 more to have this new aesthetic appeal, but how functional is it really? That is the biggest question that I have, and I've spent some time with it. And one of the concerns that I had is, since we have this wrapped type of glass here, this curved glass, does it distort the content to where it becomes annoying after a while? When I played with it at MWC, I did get a little bit annoyed where any content on the side did look a little bit warped. But everything in the center looks just fine, and I noted that it does give a popping effect, and I did like that. It really does jet out at your face. It's an interesting looking 3D effect on this display. So I think it's more of an acquired taste. It takes some time getting used to how this display appears. And if you can get used to it, you will probably like it. It certainly does look cool, but one of the things I notice is if you are watching a lot of YouTube video content or watching content in landscape in general, if there's a lot of ambient lighting, you end up with a lot of glaring where those curved bits are, and that becomes really distracting for the content. So this glare is not so bothersome or noticeable when you are holding it in this portrait mode, but once you're in landscape trying to engage with content, watching YouTube videos, if there's any ambient lighting, it becomes quite distracting with that glare. Once you're away from that ambient lighting, it looks just fine. Some people might like the 3D effect that it creates, and some people might not, but that's just something to keep into consideration. You do get quite a bit of glare. Another thing that I notice with these curved sides is that we do get a bit of color shifting at those sides. It's something that you're only going to see really against whites. So sometimes that color shifting becomes quite distracting and bothersome. I've played with several different models and they all do this to some degree. I noticed that some of them shift to a less noticeable color on the sides. Mine is quite a bluish. I've seen ones that look quite greenish. A lot of you will probably already know what I'm talking about because if you take an AMOLED display and you view it off axis, you end up getting whites that turn kind of greenish, kind of bluish, and so you're getting that same effect at those sides where it's curved. I think some will notice it, some will probably never notice it. I just thought I should bring it up. And since I pointed this out at MWC, I wanted to show you that my retail model does the same as well. So if you can get over those mild annoyances from the Edge, we do have some exclusive features that the Edge offers. Underneath Edge screen settings, we've got Edge lighting. So you can have 5 favorite contacts, and those contacts are color coded. So if you have the phone setting down on the desk, if one of those 5 contacts calls, you will see the color down below here. I have tested that myself a couple of times, and honestly I think that in anything but more dim lighting it becomes hard to see. And I would not want to face my phone down on its display anyway. We'll have to see what happens with the case offerings. But that's not really a feature that I would use. I do like People Edge though, that works quite well. So with those 5 favorite contacts from the side here, you can pull and there's the 5 favorite contacts. Just say I want to call my grandma or email my grandma. So I think that this feature is nice, and then it is concealed there. I think they could also easily have this on the regular Galaxy S6. The size of the display is the same here, but they've just made that feature exclusive. Also, if you have a missed call, on the lock screen you'll see one of those color-coded 5 people, and you can pull forward and decide to text them or call them back from there. I think that the most debatable one is the Edge screen. I really don't know if this is something that I would use. I'm trying to incorporate this in my everyday life. But this feature is different from what we saw on the Galaxy Note Edge. On the Galaxy Note Edge, you had some extra display real estate, essentially, and you had a lot of functions from that, and that was always on. But these Edge screen features are only accessible when the display is off, and you activate it by moving your finger back and forth like so. It's not easy to do. I find that if you take your finger, instead of using your fingertip, and just do this from the side, it tends to work every time. So you can see your notifications, you can see a couple of other news feeds. I think that this works well. It can be seen as a power-saving feature because you don't have to turn on the phone to see what's going on. But for me, it's more practical if I have a notification just to turn the phone on and check it out. I really don't know how discreet this actually is. So that's cool, I guess, but it's something that I really don't know if I would use yet. The most useful feature perhaps is night clock. So you can decide when you want night clock to show up. I chose 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. So anytime I turn it off, in a moment it's going to pop up showing the time here. There is a lot of glare, so it's very hard to see. There is something that I want to point out about this night clock feature. I noticed that when the night clock turns itself on, that the display is not entirely black. It looks like light is leaking from this display, so it looks like the whole display is on, and I find that to be a bit annoying. That might be intentional to give it kind of an alarm clock type glow. The interesting thing is that only my night clock mode leaks light, so if I go into the dark and I test the notification on the Edge mode, I don't see any light leaking at all. It's completely pitch black except for just the notifications. So I don't know if this is a fluke on mine that my night clock happens to be leaking light. I'm going to have to get another model and look at it and see if it's doing the same thing. So that will be interesting to see. Okay, all of you food-motivated people out there, including myself, all the people that know me know that I'm extremely food-motivated. I wanted to take a second to thank my sponsors over at NatureBox.com so much for making content creation possible. This month is really insane in that I'm ordering a lot of smartphones for review, purchasing them. I got the S6 Edge, I'm going to be getting the S6, I have the M9, so I thank them so much for helping me with that. So NatureBox is a monthly subscription service that allows you to choose from a variety of wholesome, nutritionist-approved snacks. I think that they take the guesswork out of snacking because on their website you have boxes that you can choose like low sodium, vegan, less than 10 grams of sugar, no added sugar, high in protein. And another thing that I really like about them is that they don't use high fructose corn syrup, trans fats, hydrogenated oils, no artificial sweeteners or colors, things like that. I appreciate knowing what is in my food. And ever since I heard about NatureBox, I've been fascinated by these peanut butter nom-noms. I really want to try them, so let's do that. Ooh. Cool. I think what hits me first, oddly, is the chocolate chips and then the peanut butter. Yeah, those are good. I love me my coconut cashews. They're just about all gone at this point. I also got some whole wheat blueberry figgy bars, some mango orange fruit chews. I'm seeing it so attractive to fill myself with my mouth full. So if you'd like to get some snacks for yourself, you can actually try out NatureBox for free. They will send you a free trial. And if you really end up liking the subscription service, it's $20 a month. They give you 5 full-size packets like these ones. And if there's anything in your box that you don't like, they will exchange it out for you, no questions asked. So if you'd like to try out your free trial, check out the link in the description. Yes, I like those. I do. Okay, so let's move on to talking about this crazy display a little bit. This is 5.1 inches. This is curved a little bit, but it's the same size display as the other regular Galaxy S6. So this is 1440 by 2560 pixels, 577 pixels per inch. This is a pentile, diamond matrix pentile display, and you can't tell anymore. This is just unbelievably pristine. The amount of detail that we have here is just incredible. So I am not complaining that this is a pentile type display. Oh yeah, this is me with my Tapatio sauce. Very, very happy. The resolution falls short of nothing but incredible, and this detail really does show. What I find interesting when comparing this to the Galaxy S6, and a lot of other people are confirming this same thing, is that at 100% brightness, it's not getting as bright as the Galaxy S6. To me, when looking at the measurements, it looks like it's 100 nits less bright, but when holding them side by side together against a white picture just like this, I couldn't really see too much of a difference, and while I was at MWC, I didn't see really much of a difference either. This device does get much brighter when you turn on the auto brightness. I'm sure this is an effort to save power. And to my eyes, this looks like it gets bright enough, even despite what those measurements are saying. So underneath our settings, we've got our screen mode, just like we've always had before. We've got Adaptive Display, AMOLED Cinema, AMOLED Photo, and Basic. So Basic is going to be, well, the most sane mode that you can have that's not completely oversaturated. It looks more like sRGB in terms of gamut. We do have a warmer white point here. On my particular display, I see that it's actually warmer than 6500K, and it ends up looking kind of yellowish. I'm not so happy with my basic mode on this display. And the gamma on this should be around 2.2, but it's actually a little bit higher than that, so the gamma is too high. But overall, this is the most sane mode that you can use. Then we've got AMOLED Photo. It's still got that warmer white point. On mine, again, that white point, it looks really yellowish. So in addition to that warmer white point, we've also got a wide gamut here. So this is a very colorful mode without looking overly obnoxious. And then here we've got AMOLED Cinema, and you can see between AMOLED Photo and AMOLED Cinema that that white point changes. It ends up looking really quite bluish underneath Cinema. That is done on purpose. This is also a wide gamut mode and incredibly oversaturated. And Samsung also does this crazy thing with the gamma to where they make an S-curve, gives it an artificial popping effect. So this is your insane contrasty mode with lots of saturation, lots of colors. Interestingly, I usually hate this mode, but because we have the AMOLED photo and basic modes on mine being so warm, I am ending up preferring this cinema mode. I've seen variations with these displays, some of them not as warm underneath the photo and basic modes as mine. So these things are always kind of a lottery as to what you're going to get. I'm happy that I'm going to be exchanging mine to see what I will get later on, but other phones I have seen, the calibration does look a little bit different. So the last thing that I want to peek at right now is the battery life. I just got this yesterday, so I don't have too much to say about the battery life just yet, just some observations. Just in the past couple of days, I've had to charge this several times. I think I have ended up charging this about 2.5 times during the day. I can tell that with the 2,600 milliamp hour battery inside of this thing, that it's not big enough for the power user to get through the day. I'm projecting below the 4-hour screen on time mark. It's a bit of a bummer because you have this really awesome, powerful camera on this thing, and I noticed when I was using this camera that it does drain the battery pretty quickly. So if I wanted to go out for a full day of shooting videos and pictures, I'm not expecting to be able to use this entire charge for that and also doing everything else that I need. I'm probably going to need to carry around an extra battery pack. I'm going to keep that in mind for this. I think this is something that a lot of people have been anticipating, that this is probably not going to get as great of battery life as the Galaxy S5. People are pointing that out well already. And that battery is locked in there. Technically, you could use a heat gun and remove this back cover. There are some screws that you can remove. You can take out the main board, get underneath everything, and finally you can take out the battery. So that is something that's not for the faint of heart, but it can be done. But it's not anywhere removable on the go, unfortunately. So this is going to be something we're going to plug into a battery pack, and I think it's going to need it. So thus far I have listed the things that I have immediately noticed with this phone. I do know that a lot of them happen to be more on the cons side. I don't want to get all bah humbug on this phone. I just have to be as honest as I possibly can. I do really love the design of this phone. I like how it feels in the hand now that I've had a chance to play with it. I really like how fast it is to execute that camera. Also, this fingerprint sensor down at the bottom, you can see I can just hold it, turn on the display, and it unlocks it all at the exact same time. And as far as I've seen, it works pretty much every single time. So there are a lot of pluses to using this phone. It feels nice and smooth for the most part. I have seen some hiccups here and there, especially with the keyboard. The keyboard was lagging, so I ended up just switching it for SwiftKey, and it seems to be all right now. I really like that we've got those Galaxy Note 4 multi-window type features, or these small windows. And it's not very easy to discover them, but you can multitask very nicely and easily, just like with the Note 4 on this device. So you can see that you can do this with 5 of them. You can also choose multiple apps to have at one time. And it does all this pretty smoothly. So it's a full-featured phone with a great camera. I'm going to be getting into that in the full review. So stay tuned for that. Keep the good sides and the bad sides in mind anytime you are looking to buy a product. I try to be as fair as I possibly can on that. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I will be taking a look at the M9 next up. That's the next phone I want to take a look at. I didn't really like the M9 at MWC very much, but I've had a chance to play with it a little bit, and I'm actually liking it. It's growing on me. So more on that in a little bit. So thank you everyone, and have a good night.